Yes, sir. What's up, guys?
Yes. This DJ will kick the floor in three, two, one.
Hello and welcome to Mzansi. We are back again. We are hoping that you had a good day today. I know that we do these things late, but listen, we're never gonna give out what is happening, but something is happening. Something is cooking. So listen, today we had another long day of dragging of Mr. Vaseline and his companion. What we can say is that it's dragging. It's just dragging, and we hope that eventually we are going to move faster as we get to people who are interested in this in other ways other than being a persecutor. So listen, this is Mr. Anonymous. For those who do not know me, please subscribe. Please subscribe. I am Mr. Anonymous. Please subscribe. And this is Emil in front of you. And we greet you. We're not going to waste a lot of time because we know that some people are sleeping, some other countries. Yes. Other countries, we are saying good morning. And we don't know where you are. Emily, it's your thing, man. It's you who knows these things. You know how to take us through this whole case and the rest of the things.
I must confess, today was a bit tricky, hey? Bezkala. My concentration was tested today. My concentration muscles were tested. I was getting in and out, bored, coming back. It was a drag. That's all I can say. And Mthokozisi Thwala was back on the witness stand today. It was his second day. Mm-hmm. I can't believe that the state actually took 2 days to. It has
to take statement. I don't know why,
and
but
we still have more tomorrow before the defense examines him.
So we didn't finish even today.
No. So Twala picked up from where there was a scuffle in the kitchen. He said Senzo and Tumelo were fighting. The guys in the kitchen, Zandi and her mother, were using Tumelo's crutches to beat the intruders. And Twala said that the scuffle did not go on for long before a gunshot went off. He said after the shot went off, Christian, Kelly and Jub's son ran into the sitting room. He said that after the shot went off, he was in shock. Yeah. He says he saw the kitchen door was slightly open and he ran out through it. He says he met Senzo at the door, moving in the opposite direction. He said he was not sure if Senzo was falling. He passed him. He says he ran out toward the main gate.
Okay.
Twala said after he ran out the door, he may have heard a second gunshot. He says he is not sure if there was a second gunshot or not.
Okay.
So Twala also said after he ran out, the second intruder, who was taller, ran behind him. So Judge Maumela asked if he was just behind him or if he was chasing him. Twala said he is not sure, but even as he was running to the house next door, the man was behind him. Mm-hmm. So Twala showed the court direction where he ran. Okay? He says he jumped over a gate. Twala said the first intruder ran past the house next door. He said a man from next door came out and asked him who he was. He says he explained to them. Twala said that he then heard screams. He said they jumped back over the wall, back to Kelly's mother's house with the neighbors.
So I think what sort of caught my eyes there was when he was asked about the person who shot. He didn't, in a sense, he answered it, but not fully. He said there's only one person who had a gun, according to his opinion. Mm-hmm. There was only one person who had a gun. Mm-hmm. And all those observations, and the very interesting thing, which amazes me, is that this man never contributed in this scuffle.
Yeah.
He never contributed in this. And mind you, let me remind you, in his first submissions, similar to Melo, he did say that I thought he was joking. I thought he was joking. And only when, I think, in my own opinion, you know the person, you understand the person, you kind of have sat with the person, that
You're
you
familiar.
think that you're familiar with the person.
So where did he say this? Was it a statement?
Yeah, he said, but when he was asked, did you see who shot? I would not know, but there is one person who had a gun. You know, that was very interesting. So basically saying then that's the first person who came, because according to him, there's only one person who had a gun.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Twala said that when he walked in with the man from next door, he walked to the sitting room where...
And Emil, I'm sorry to stab you, because I'm going to stab you here again.
Okay.
Make me understand here, maybe everyone in the comments. You have escaped the scene. You are out of the scene. You have hidden yourself because you don't know what is happening. You almost had about 2 shots, because the other one you said you kind of had, you think you had or something. We don't care. But at the point where you have hidden yourself, and you have seen only one person, and I want you to emphasize that, one person walking down the road, passing your neighbor, the one who allegedly was chasing you, right?
The second intruder.
Yes, you still go back there. You jump, and I want to put this into, you jumped. You didn't just open the gate and you jumped the wall, come back to the danger. You could have used that time. Why didn't you use that time to call the police with your neighbors? Let's say your phone that you allege. No, we're not going to say he left in the house. Okay. He said the first, I remember very well yesterday. That's why I was not talking a lot yesterday. But today I'm going to talk, because this man said initially he picked his phone, he protected the son, which is Christine. So I also understand that in his submission, he said the phone was off. So I understand that. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Okay.
But my submission here is that you could have used other people's phone, the neighbors' phones, to call the police. Why didn't you do that while you are on the other side, instead of you going back to the scene where you are uncertain of what is happening, knowing that the people that are there, or a person that might be left there, that was being harassed by people who had crashes and all that, and the same person had the gun, by the way, didn't shoot them. He went to shoot the other one who was fighting with the other man. So why didn't you call the police? Not unless if you are certain that the person who did this was gone. You know? Not unless you were fully certain. You would jump the wall because jumping the wall, you don't see what is happening on the other side. And you couldn't be peeping to see. I mean, a person's got a gun. You ran away from the scene. Why didn't you call the police? The first chance you got, why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you tell the people to call the police? And only if you told the neighbors a different story than the one that we are being told now, then that the neighbors would be able to jump the wall with you. Considering that we allegedly had that a guy is a former, police?
Yes, the neighbor.
The neighbor.
Former police.
Yes.
The neighbor where he jumped.
If that was the case, a man would know exactly that you cannot jump into a place where you are uncertain of what would happen. And because I'm saying this, you would hear, guys, he comes back and say, where is the other one? So that means you are uncertain if this person was gone or not. He could have been waiting for you. It could have been, instead of Kelly's mom, it could have been you. Continue.
Well, Twala said that when he walked in with the man from next door, he walked to the sitting room where he saw Senzo on the floor. He says he lifted his shirt and he saw a bullet in his chest. He said he heard banging on the door. When he asked who it was, Tumelo answered, asking Mthogo to open the door for him.
Yes.
He said Tumelo was locked in the bedroom. Twala gave him a spoon to open the door. So Twala says that he saw that Tumelo was alone. He said he heard Tumelo screaming, "Awe ma." He said he asked for a towel to put on Senzo's wound, which was bleeding. And Twala said that at that point, Senzo was still alive because he was still gasping for air. Someone was saying, "Call the ambulance." And a neighbor said that they should rush him to the hospital. Twala said the neighbor was speaking in Sesotho. Twala said they picked Senzo up and put him in the X6. Twala said that he was the first one to go into the car. He went in with Senzo. Now, this to me, it felt like deja vu. It's funny how Tumelo, in his testimony, there wasn't any mention of Mthogo. You'd think that Mthogo was never in that car.
I think Mthogo was in the car.
Yeah.
I would think that Mthogo was in the car, certainly. But because if you try to make something look genuine, you are all going to take or partake in certain things. For me, I still maintain that you will hear as the time goes on, the investigation process that Mthogo went through and resisted, and resisted all that pain and whatnot that could come with that type of investigation. God forbid. Well, Mthogo was not budging at some point. That's my thinking. That's my own opinion, my own observation that I'm seeing, because Mthogo was not budging.
Yeah.
But continue, Amy.
He said on his left was Tumelo and on his right was Zandi, and Kelly was driving. Twala said Senzo's legs were on Zandi. Ngazelwa yini deja vu from that interview. Zandi uti she was putting pressure on the wound.
Yes.
Was the wound at the feet or the legs? That is a question we need to think about. And his body was on Tumelo and his head was on him and Tumelo.
Yeah, that would make sense. I even draw it down and it kind of makes sense. So two people were holding the upper part of the body and then one person was holding the leg side, which would make sense.
But now, who was putting pressure on the wound?
We cannot preempt in this case. And I'll tell you why we cannot dwell on that. As much as it is very interesting to dwell on it, it was said outside the court. So it can still
be debunked.
Yes. So in this case, right now, I think they have corrected who was putting what where. It's okay. Let us accept that. Let us work with that. But knowing that at some point they did say that.
Okay, so he said Senzo was trying to speak, but he was struggling. He sounded like he was breathing through the wound. He said in the car was Kelly, Zandi, Tumelo, himself, and Senzo. He says Kelly was driving and there was nobody in the front.
Yeah.
Twala said they drove to Butsilong Hospital.
Yeah.
He kept telling him, this is Senzo, he kept telling Senzo to keep thinking about his children. As they were proceeding, he could hear that Senzo's gasping and breathing was going down. He said he held his hand and Senzo responded for a bit. Twala said that all the others ran into the hospital to seek help when they arrived at Butsilong Hospital, while he stayed behind with Senzo in the car. He says Senzo became less responsive. Twala said they came back first with a wheelchair and then with a stretcher.
Yeah.
He said there were nurses who rushed him inside to perform a surgery. He said after a short while, the nurses came back asking to see an elder. Twala said initially he thought they needed someone to make payments. It was all financial. He said he told them that he is Senzo's closest friend or relative that was present.
Yeah.
But in fact, he insisted that he was more closer than the rest of the people that were there at the hospital at the time.
Okay.
But they insisted that they needed an elderly person. And that's when Kelly's mom went closer to the doctor, and the doctor told Kelly's mom that Senzo was no more. So Twala said that he ran to the room where Meyiwa was, and there was a nurse covering him with a sheet. So according to witnesses that were in the court, they said that the demeanor of Twala is that he hanged his head and sounded teary, and his jaw tightened just before he said what I'm about to say. They said Twala said he removed the sheet to see Senzo, but the nurse covered him again. He said there was a point where he shook Senzo and the nurse said, "Leave him." Twala said he left the room and went to the reception and asked the nurses to charge his phone. Once it was on, he called Mandisa, Senzo's wife, who was at Roy Mahumuta's party.
Which is kind of aligning to the story that we previously had, that
Yes.
Senzo was itching to go to Mandisa's party, which was debunked by certain people. I think if it was not at some point Kelly, it's alleged. Obviously, it was there was an interview where I don't know whether it's Zandi or Kelly, but between the two, someone said something of not being interested to that party in a sense.
But then Roy Mahumuta himself in the documentary confirmed that it was what is happening. Mandisa was at the party. So now my question is, did Mthogo know that Mandisa was at Roy Mahumuta's party all along?
In his statement, he said, "I called those who were in Roy Mahumuta's party," and then specifically he said, "I called Mandisa." So therefore, Mthogo knew that Mandisa was there.
Okay, so Twala said that he tried to speak to Mandisa, but he couldn't because he was crying. He remembers that Kelly took his phone
There's
while
something
it was
very
ringing.
interesting. Yes.
And when Mandisa said hello, Kelly also said hello. He said Mandisa thought that he was talking to him, Mthogo, because he is the one who phoned her. Then Kelly said it was her. They should come to the hospital. Senzo was hurt.
Yeah.
Now, Twala said that Mandisa told him that Kelly introduced herself and asked her to come to the hospital because Senzo had been injured. Twala said Mandisa responded, but he could not say what he said. It's just that he can't mention in court what exactly Mandisa said. He says he heard her crying and then she hung up the phone. Twala said when he called back, the phone was answered by Mandisa's friend, Blom.
Yes.
They called each other Scheme. So she asked him, Scheme, what's wrong? What happened? And they couldn't believe that something had just happened to Senzo. He says he told them to bring Mandisa to Butsilong Hospital. As Mandisa told her later on, she told her that she heard him crying and Mthogo could not play with crying. She heard him crying. So he knew that Mthogo was onto something. So Twala said that he went back inside the hospital and it was starting to be packed. He said after 15 minutes, there were members of the media and people from the local Shisanyama. Twala says Mandisa and the others she was with arrived. He says he took her to the room where Senzo was. He says after that, Mandisa asked what happened. She went to Kelly and they hugged each other, seemingly comforting each other. Twala said that after that...
Mandisa and Kelly.
Yes. They hugged.
Wow.
They had a brief moment of hugging each other.
Oh, wow.
Twala said after that there was a fighting between Kelly and some women he does not know.
Which exclude Mandisa because he vividly said Mandisa was not part of that.
Was not part of the fight.
Okay.
So the police ended up barricading the hospital entrance. That is after that fight with the two women and Kelly. Then after some time, he saw Kelly with players from Kaizer Chiefs. He won't mention names because he says people are troublesome. This is where I was annoyed with the translator, because the translator said that Mthogo was the one talking to the Kaizer Chiefs players, and I had to replay it. I'm like, no, but that's not what he said.
No, forgive him.
He said that once the fight was stopped, he saw Kelly, Zandi, and Longwe leaving. Twala said during that fight and Kelly's assault, Mandisa was not involved. She was with him. Twala said he stopped the car after they left Zandi, Kelly, and Longwe. He stopped the car that Kelly was in. He wanted to find out where Tumelo was. He said he found Tumelo in that car and said he must come sleep at his home because Senzo was no more. But Tumelo insisted that he would go with Kelly. Now, why was Tumelo insisting on going with Kelly?
Remember when Tumelo was asked about this, he said he didn't know anyone. He came for Senzo, and Senzo was no more. The only people he knew at the time was the same people that Senzo introduced him to, which was Kelly and the family. Remember that part? When we asked why, like when the question was asked, why didn't he leave? Like everyone else, like Mthogo. He was at the time. At the time, he was again on that testimony. He was excluding Mthogo exclusively.
It was like Mthogo wasn't there when we remember Tumelo's testimony. Like it was like Mthogo was not there at all.
Exactly. And then now we are told that Mthogo
was insisting
was there and even looked for him.
He even looked for him.
Yes.
Like he was insisting.
But what is interesting, Emily, that I want you to look at, I'm a person of time. Mthogo said he sat there. I remained until the car that fetched Senzo's body to the mortuary came. And it was around 1:30 to 2:30. This man always plays with an interval of an hour. And I will take you back. Yesterday I didn't say it, and he repeated it today. Yesterday he said the time of that when he was talking about the time of the events, I think he said 7:30 to 8. 8:30. Very, very interesting, because last time when we were busy trying to crack our heads here, my estimation, mine was around 7 of the incident. And then Tumelo's testimony sort of pushed it to up until 9 or so.
9.
Yes. Now, if you look at the time, and then to combine that time with the time of who's this guy, Brigadier, or who's the other guy? Musia talked about first 10 up until 12. So that's when they were dealing with the scene. Right?
Yes.
So now you take that's like an hour between, if you take 1:30 for anything, for example. So that's like an hour. So these people were back in the house at that time. And yet, Mthogo was still there,
until 1.
Chilling there.
At the hospital. Waiting for the mortuary.
And I did say that Mthogo has a bit of the truth for me. I don't know.
Well, Twala says that he stayed at the hospital until the early hours of the morning. That's the time we just estimated right now, and that's when Senzo's body was taken to the mortuary. Twala said he went home with a childhood friend of his from Katlehong by the name of Prince.
Okay.
When he was at home, it was still painful to him because his brother, who was with him at the time and at the hospital, got up to bath to go to work at around 6. And Mthogo says that he was still awake at that time. He tried to sleep for 2 hours, but neighbors came to see him. And the ones who heard that he was there where the incident was taking place, even the players from Baklu who were working and staying with Senzo were also there to check on him.
Yeah.
So Senzo's sister then called him inquiring about Senzo's ID. He went to Vosloorus and Kelly's mom's house, and he says when he got there, it was packed there. He didn't understand why it was so packed, because for someone who just got hurt at that place.
Yeah.
Then Kelly's mom said that Kelly was not there. Then together with the people he was with, they went to Vosloorus police station, where he wrote a statement.
Just a brief, I can see, guys, that some of you are struggling to watch. Here we can see that the stream is taking a strain, as usual. Please subscribe, like the video on that, and we apologize for that. Obviously, we cannot control that.
It's the internet.
It's the internet itself, but we hope that, as usual, you are able to hear us as we continue to unfold. And for people who say members or subscribe, I don't know what to do. I think I'll be able to upload, if you were interested in seeing Emily's face, I will upload the video on top of this stream. But for now, just bear with us and go with us.
Yeah, this load shedding, we don't know what is happening. For some reason, it's affecting the internet. It's affecting the internet, and it's really bad. But I'm going to continue because the sound is clear. It's just the screen is the one that's buffering. So he says that he arrived during the day at Vosloorus police station. The date was the 27th of October 2014. And after finishing the statement, they went to Malbutton. He was with his friends. So Twala said he was sent by Senzo's family to fetch Senzo's ID. They wanted to move Senzo's body from Germiston mortuary to a private mortuary by the name of B3.
Okay.
But Kelly refused with the ID. She said that she will wait for Stan, who is Senzo Meyiwa, Senzo's brother, and Senzo's father, to come and fetch the ID from her.
Yes.
But she eventually agreed when Mthogo returned with Senzo's brother and friend by the name Bongani Mlangeni with the police. So they had to go with the police to fetch Senzo's ID.
And I like the way he's playing it down, Mthogo, on this case, of saying that, but yet he includes the police. If really there was this so nice relationship, why did they need to bring the police?
So Twala said that Kelly refused to give them Senzo's belongings, saying that Senzo will tell her in a dream what to do with his belongings. He tried talking to Tumelo. Even there, this is the second time he tried convincing Tumelo to go from where they were, So he was trying. He said, "This is another time he tried to convince Tumelo.
This is when he went to make a statement by the Vosloorus. It was very interesting because the person that is unknown is the one that took this man from home, right? Mm-hmm. And then up until Vosloorus. Mm-hmm. And then from there, he started at Kelly's house. And then from Kelly's house, he moved there to the police station. What informed the move? Was it the instruction from the police that time, China, you need to move to the...
Did you get a phone call?
Did you get a phone call? Is there anything that informed this whole movement? I'm interested in that because I was asking myself, I thought maybe he was going to explain himself and saying that, okay, this is what informed it, but I'm struggling to get into a point of why did he have to go there? Like, what informed the move? Why did you move? That's my question. But yeah, ask again, Emil.
Well, he says from there they went to the Germiston mortuary to identify the body, and it was himself, Sifiso, and Mandisa also arrived. He also identified Senzo's body. So they started with the arrangements of the memorial service.
Yes.
And this is when Advocate Baloyi was like, what happened on Wednesday?
Okay.
What happened on Wednesday? So on Wednesday, the 29th of October, Twala said that he was taken to an ID parade at the JP police station.
Okay.
He said that he can't remember exactly who fetched him, but it was the police, and they went to the police station, and he says that they were there, all put in the same room.
Okay.
By all, he meant Kelly, Zandi, Kelly's mother, Longwe, Twala, Tumelo Madlala, the children, Christian and Tingo, and there was another lady by the surname of Ledwaba who was with Kelly. Mthogo said that he knows this lady from the TV.
Ledwaba. Okay.
Ledwaba.
I'm
trying to think of a celebrity by his name, Ledwaba. I don't know. I have to look into that. Well,
is
they
there
were then
no one
briefed.
called Mpumi Ledwaba? Something like that.
Nah, she wasn't close to Kelly at the time. She's fairly young and she's a YouTuber. Yeah, it's not her.
Okay.
It has to be somebody else. Back in the day, 2014.
Ledwaba.
We'll have to go and research and find out who that is. So he says they were then briefed that there was going to be an ID parade.
Okay.
And I quote, this is what Twala said, "I then went to the identification room and I saw the people there, but I didn't identify anyone." This is where Kelly's mom allegedly pointed at Zamokuhle, the guy who allegedly washed Senzo's car whenever he was there.
Okay.
So he didn't point anyone. He didn't identify anyone. So Advocate Baloyi asked if the police made contact with him after. And after that, Senzo was buried. Then Twala said, "I did make contact with the police after that. And I am aware I made other statements as well, more than two. They took me as well where I was involved in the identity. I think it was around the end of December, that very same year in 2014. Twala said that during the drawing of the identity kit, it was done by a lady of no color, but I think it's that lady from the documentary, Steenkamp, in my opinion. But then they wanted him to recall the first person that he had seen in the house.
Okay.
He explained what he remembered of his facial features, his eyes, his cheekbones, the ears and the head, and the fact that he had dreadlocks.
Yeah.
So an identity kit of a gentleman referred to as the first person he saw in the house sporting dreadlocks was displayed on the screen in court. And then court was adjourned for lunch.
Very, very interesting. And I don't want people to get lost here. This guy, it might sound like he said he pointed at these people. No,
I was also very confused.
He didn't. So in this case, he said he pointed at the person who looked or who had similarities.
No, but that happened at the second identity parade that took place in Maritzburg. It's not that first one that happened in Johannesburg.
Okay.
Yes, there were two that Mthogo said he attended.
All right.
This is now after lunch that we get there. So Twala says there was another identity parade that took place in Pietermaritzburg. Even though he can't remember the dates, but he said he thinks it was January 2017. He says he remembers being fetched from work. He's not certain when they arrived at Pietermaritzburg Correctional Facility or Service and then went to his open place that had gates. He said they went into this open place that had gates that looked like a correctional facility.
No, Emil, I think you're getting it wrong. So the first pointing that sort of that might confuse people is the one that happened on the gate issue is in Pretoria.
Okay.
Aren't you confusing that with where Joyce is involved?
We are not there, Joyce, yet.
Okay. All right. Then continue then. Continue then. I'm lost also.
Yeah, so he said, I was made to wait there before they took me to where I was supposed to go. After a while, they took him there. I was there to look at these people. I don't know whether to refer to them as prisoners, but I think one was a suspect. I can't remember how many they were. So Twala said they asked him if there was anyone he could identify as one of the person who was in the house. He then said, but I do see someone who has similar features to that person.
Yeah.
Twala said he was then asked to point out this person with similar features.
Okay.
They then took pictures.
Okay.
Then he realized that it was over.
Okay.
He says, I then stopped the person who was conducting this investigation.
Sure.
I think his name was Brigadier Gininda.
All right.
I told him I did not say this was the person because I see how things are done here.
Okay. Hold that name. Just hold that name. I'm just saying the name Brigadier just comes out now. I don't know. Just hold it. Maybe we will see something.
So Mthogo was like, no, but this is not
It was already too late.
He was, yeah, what just happened? And then he said he understood that he only said similar features.
Yeah.
Okay. Mthogo continues and says, I then told him again, I didn't say this was the person. I don't want stories after that.
Yes.
Then Twala said, I told him even in the car that I didn't understand how things were done in there. He said he understood, but I never heard them talk about that matter again.
Okay. Yeah, continue.
So on the 13th of January, something happened which affected him a lot to this day. That is what he's saying. He was saying he was on his way to Moses Mabhida as he was preparing to go to this event with a friend.
Yeah.
While he was getting dressed at home, he saw the police coming in.
Yes.
Now he's saying police because one of them saw him through the window before
Because
he
one
could
of
open.
the ones that he saw through the window, he had seen the person.
He has
And
seen
that
the
would be
police before.
that would be Joyce Butelis, right?
It
Yes.
was a female and a male officer. Twala said he knew the female officer from before as Mabutelezi, and the second one he didn't know.
Okay.
But he later found out that he was Officer Makubo.
All right.
So Twala says that he knew the female officers from before as Mabutelezi, and the second one he didn't know, but he later found out that it was Officer Makubo.
Hey.
From 2014 until 13th January 2019, police would call him at least 2 days before, but this time around, they didn't.
Yes.
So he says he told them that this was the first time that they just arrived without a notice.
Yeah.
They told him that these people had just been arrested and needed to be identified.
Yes.
He then thought the parade would be in Pietermaritzburg, only to find that it would be in Joburg.
Okay.
Twala said that he asked if they could not leave the following day. They said that they had made an oath that he would always be available.
Yes.
So he asked them to wait for his mother, who then arrived, and they explained to her.
Yeah.
Twala said that he packed his clothes and drove to Gauteng, but realized they were passing Joburg and coming to Pretoria.
Oh, yeah.
Upon arrival, he saw that they entered a tunnel where they went in, went down, and then got to the parking.
All right.
He says they then arrived at some entrance. He could tell that it was a law enforcement building. When then they went up until to a floor that he couldn't remember.
Okay.
When they got up to it, he could tell by the pictures on the wall that they were in Butelezi's office.
All right.
He said, I asked where were the others? And she told him that some officers were fetching Tumelo and others were fetching Kelly. At around 10 in the evening, this is 2200 hours, 2 men arrived.
Yes.
From there, he was busy on the phone, and one took the phone and asked who he was talking to on the phone. Baloy asked if he could recognize the men. Twala said that he was seeing them for the first time. So Twala then said, they asked me, why did you kill Senzo? While he was still confused, he just started getting beatings. For a good hour, he said. Then a judge asked Did both assault you or one? Twala said both of them assaulted him. Baloyi then asked, do you know why they were assaulting you? Twala answered, I also wish I knew. They just kept assaulting me and they told me I would eventually concede to what they were accusing me of.
Yes.
He said I was screaming as they were assaulting me. Later on, one of them came into the room with a bag. They opened the bag and they took out a rope. Those big ropes that you use when you are slaughtering a cow. He also took out a mat. They tied both his hands behind his back and tied his feet. They then tied his hands and feet together. His private parts was exposed on the mat. Twala became emotional and the court adjourned for a short comfort break that Advocate Baloyi asked for. They then, after adjournment, Twala continued and he said that they then put a mat under his private part, and while they held him down, they took this thing that looked like a tube and they would suffocate him with it. He thought he was going to die. Twala then continued and said that continued for about 2 to 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours.
Yes.
3 to 4 hours.
4 to 4, yeah.
During that time, one would sleep while one was torturing him. They would call each other Morena. One would say, let's leave. And Twala said he doesn't know that what they had planned, but he could see one was tired of this while the other one was willing to continue to carry on. All this while he was screaming and apologizing and so on. Twala said they kept taking turns and the other would sleep while another would tube him. He said they called each other Morena. Twala says they spoke in Sesotho. They thought he did not understand the language. He says one of them said, Aramutlohele, meaning let's leave him. Twala said the torture went on until morning, since it started at 10 p.m. Twala said the torture carried on until the morning because he could see the sunlight coming through the windows. They then removed this mat under him, which he had peed on, which means they knew that they needed to put that mat because he would pee on himself during the torture. Twala said that he urinated on the mat. He said less than 5 minutes after they left and Buthelezi returned to the office. He said she said something like, you don't want to cooperate.
Yeah.
And then she looked at him. He looked at her and thought, this one doesn't know me. Twala said Buthelezi asked, what must happen now? He asked to be taken home in Katlehong. Twala said that they drove towards Kelly's mother's house in Vosloorus, but they ended up at the house next door, where he ran on the day Senzo was shot. He said that he found the father and mother and son from that home. The woman did not recognize him, but the son did. Twala said he did not know why he was there, but he took the opportunity to thank them for helping him because he had last seen them on the day of Senzo's death. Twala said that Buthelezi kept on insisting that he jumped over the wall at a different spot to where he actually jumped. Twala said Buthelezi eventually took him to Katlehong. He found his aunt and cousin. They asked him what happened, and he just kept crying. They could see the wounds on his legs and back, and Twala said that Buthelezi then told his aunt that they would come back to the house for Twala to write a statement that he was not in the house when Senzo Meyiwa was shot. Twala said Buthelezi said he should send the statement so she could take it to court. He said he wrote the statement and sent it to her, but he wrote it according to his version and not what Buthelezi wanted him to say.
All right.
Now, here it was like, Buthelezi is really sounding like the villain. Like, Tumelo also was painting Buthelezi. He just brought up Buthelezi out of nowhere. And now they're really making Buthelezi the villain here.
I want to draw you into a different perspective here. And I want you to look at it in a different way.
Okay.
when the 5 accused were arrested, according to the reports that were released 2015, Joyce was not part of that.
When? Can you please repeat?
Joyce Buthelezi, according to the paper that I read, I think it's African, let me see. There's a paper here. It dates back from it's part of the paper actually. It was written by Farai Diza. News Africa. So
News Africa.
Yeah. So what is being said here is that Buthelezi felt that the people who were in the house should be arrested so that they can tell the truth. He felt more like those people who were in the house are the people that should be leading us to the truth.
Yes.
And they are not telling the truth. And the superiors sort of debunked that idea, and they sort of played away from that idea. It is alleged on this paper.
Okay.
If you could find it. And then from there, and I'm not sure if I can, and then from there, Buthelezi then sort of left the case. This is according to this paper.
All right.
And now, what I want you to look at in that paper, other than what I've just said now, is that it was kind of denied that Buthelezi left the case. In denying that by some of the superiors was that Buthelezi is coming in, and I want you to listen to this. Okay. National Police spokesperson, Lieutenant General Solomon Mahale, however, told the publication Buthelezi did not receive threats, and that was part of the Buthelezi leaving the case, by the way, also that there are threats. As some of you heard Defo sort of alluding to that also in the beginning of the case. And then Captain Buthelezi provides specialist psychologically investigation supports to the team as and when required. So Buthelezi now is moving sort of away from the case in that sense to say, when required, then you'll come, you know? And I want you to look at the patterns here. The patterns are that I would believe Dumelo, and I did say this, I would believe Dumelo saying that maybe Joyce took him to the graves. Oh. Because that is a psychological play. Yeah. You know? I would believe Togo in saying that maybe Joyce took them through spread view to see the house, the next door, and the wall where Mthogo allegedly jumped. You look at that wall, by the way, it's very short for someone to actually, because it worries me that someone ran from the door to the corner, then the gate, and then move out of the gate, and then you jump on the other side. You could have jumped that wall there. And that was my thinking when I saw it. Like that, what would I have done? Probably on my instinct, I would have jumped the wall. Straight. Yes. That's it. No debates there. Which is what then comes back by Mthogo's mouth in saying that Joyce wanted him to admit to jumping the wall there.
That was closer
and short.
Yes, and shorter.
So what I'm trying to draw here, Emil, is that people should understand that two people, according to this case, as we've had before also from the case that Brigadier Ginindi and Joyce Buthelezi were working together at some point, right?
Yes.
And I'm looking at how Mthogo said he pointed at the person who looks similar, and then all of a sudden it turned out to be a story of the day of what happened. You pointed the person, that's it, Clar. And then I also listen to the people who have been detained, these 5 accused, complaining about, and that's why I'm telling you the story of Joyce Thwala, complaining about being coerced into admitting certain things. Isn't that ringing bells of what Mthogo is saying? I cannot debunk that Mthogo went through what he went through. And in my own thinking, I believe him. He did go through that. But I feel like there is a bit of switch there and there of personalities. I don't think Joyce Thwala is still part of this case. Even if he was, as this paper is explaining here, he comes in as and when he's requested to come. And it's more of a psychological play. What is psychological play? You play someone's mind. You don't make it physical. You play someone's mind. You play with their mind. You take them to the graves to see Senzo's grave, and as a friend, hope that it will invoke something of some sort of the feeling that you had, you have lost a friend and all that. That's how you play it. You take someone back to the scene. That I believe that. Do I believe that Joyce did fetch this man? Yes, because maybe there are people who can attest to that, to say, yes indeed, Mthogo was fetched here.
Maybe she was instructed
but
to do
I feel that in doing that, somewhere, somehow, Joyce was betrayed. Maybe he left this person to say, okay, in the morning I'll come back and then we'll have this conversation. And then somewhere, somehow, someone was not sleeping, waiting for that chance. And then these guys came in. They did what they did. And Vele, who fetched you? It's Joyce.
Buthelezi.
So if it's Joyce Buthelezi, then Joyce must take the blame.
The responsibility.
At some point, I feel like along the way, the relationship of the people who were dealing with the case sort of break into 2 camps. As we are, that is not even a secret. We kind of
Advocate Defo said it. Senzo Meyiwa said it at some point last year.
Yes, but seemingly, that's why we also have, by the way, the other case waiting, the other docket waiting. That is regarded as a junior advice and all. There are many things that have been said about this. This is now, I'm trying to bring you back to the story of how we are here today, because this whole thing now that we are facing, it is a doing of that. If there was no one, as it is alleged that someone stole an important piece, if there was no one who did that, and if someone did indeed do that, steal an important piece, then what can stop that someone from doing what Mthogo said it was done to him under Joyce's name? That I'm just saying. Again, it's speculation, and not just speculating about. I'm just saying. I'm thinking.
It's your own opinion.
It's my own opinion.
This is the
public
opinion.
It's alleged. In case we didn't put alleged anyway, everything that is said on this channel is alleged.
Is alleged. Even our name is alleged.
So I want you to look at that, and whereas we have not actually had the chance of listening to these people who are accused, little chance has been given for them to express themselves over what they are going through. Some of them going to wrong jails, as they allege at some point that I'm not supposed to be here and whatnot. Those are the things that you need to look at. And where is Joyce at that time? I don't think Joyce is there. I don't think if you ask those people in a manner in which they explain the way of torturing,
yes,
it sounds similar to what Mthogo went through.
It's sounding very similar.
It does resembles the similar pattern. And if it's anything to go by, then shouldn't we be looking at that direction to say that what happened initially to this case? Why do we have these 2 dockets? Who created this division? And
why?
Why? What is the gain of this division? Because we are in the midst right now through the second case, according to me, obviously. I don't know. Maybe Vaseline will tell you otherwise. But to me, it seems that we are in the midst of a case where this is going to be regarded at some point as no trial.
It's going there, Ngambela.
With all the resources and time that we have actually wasted. Perhaps the second case, second docket, could have put us closer to the truth.
Because when you think about it, the people at the house.
When you listen to the statements, now you have two people who were in the house. They are telling you about the statements.
Yes.
There are a lot of loopholes. Isn't that warranting to say that let us scrap this thing, let us take the second one? Because already these people who were in the house, you'll see, they are still going to poke these people's holes. You'll see, two people in the house, they are found wandering, they are found wanting, they are found in different arrays. What then do you do? Isn't it proving that, as it is said in this paper, that Joyce believed that the first thing to do was to arrest people who were in the house and get the truth, because she believed that they were kind of allegedly lying
and
not telling the
truth. It could have yielded something back then because it was still so fresh. Now, after so many years, if it is being alleged that this whole thing has been rehearsed, they would have had a lot of time to put it together.
Yes.
You know, it's been 8 years.
It has. It has been long.
So, if it's being alleged that this is sounding like a similar story, then
so
they had time.
That's for me. That's what stems out to say. Perhaps the easiest was the first one. If we started there, then coming back to look for a needle under the water, dirty water, because right now we are at this state of where you listen to someone, you feel that this person sounds so rehearsed, and the talking and
especially
and the repeating of the thing
of the scuffle, especially that part. It's too perfect. It's sounding too perfect. You know, and that is a problem there. It's like Mthogo and Tumelo had the same vision of what was happening.
And ask yourself this question. Tumelo at least tried to fight, right?
Yes.
Mthogo never fought.
No.
Mthogo left. And
grabbed his phone.
Combine that. And if really you thought that people, or in fact not even think, because they said they wanted phones and money. Mm-hmm. If that happened, you wouldn't have grabbed that phone. You'd have ran for your life.
Grabbed his phone.
But passing against your friend, passing Kelly, Zandi, the mother,
in the kitchen,
assaulting the first intruder, and then you pass your friend who at the time you didn't know what was happening, you don't assist, and then you are chased by this person and that's it. You are chased by this person. We don't know, for some magic reason, the same person left Tumelo, gave him time to go to the bedroom and hide there for some weird reason. For some weird reason, he was just chasing you, who ran out. He didn't chase Twala, who ran out
first.
He chased you, and then I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense, because my understanding
it's that glitch is there. The glitch.
So my question would be, when was it? Was it when Longwe decided to push this guy and move out, that you move out, or was it when there was a shooting and then the door was open? Because the shooting and the door opened a bit. It was opened a bit, and then there was shooting and then the door opened. That's when I saw the chance. You didn't see the chance when Longwe was pushing this guy, moving out, running. You didn't see that chance of running. You still stayed. to tell the story.
And you passed everyone in a scuffle in that tiny kitchen.
Yes. Very correct.